Tonight, cocoa farmers wade into controversy that has pitched COCOBOD against the finance ministry after the finance minister announced he will personally be sitting on the agency's board to instill financial discipline.
Both the governor of the central bank and the minister for finance, myself, will now be on the board to make sure overheads, are all brought into an ambit of discipline.
There's nothing COCOBOD or the board would do that doesn't have the approval of the government. The minister or the ministry, that's the two ministries, finance and agri, they are all members of COCOBOD.
And with COCOBOD now directed to pursue profits, we hear from cocoa farmers who say the new directive will harm their interest. And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. Cocoa farmers are tonight wading into the controversy that has pitched COCOBOD against the finance ministry after the minister announced he will personally be sitting on the agency's board to instill financial discipline. Now, COCOBOD has over the years been reeling under huge annual losses, which has been identified as a major threat to the sector and government's fiscal efforts by the International Monetary Fund. Now, speaking exclusively to my colleague George Yafe on PM Express, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said the purchase of fertilizers and the construction of cocoa roads will be strictly monitored to ensure they are within budget limits. Well, COCOBOD has been responding to that, indicating that there's no decision they've taken that did not have the blessing of either cabinet or the ministry itself, because the ministry is already represented on its board. We'll hear from COCOBOD pretty shortly, and also hear from cocoa farmers who are wading into this controversy tonight, especially as you also learn from the finance minister that COCOBOD has now been directed to pursue profits. Cocoa farmers are telling us tonight that the new directive will harm their interest. Details of that pretty shortly. But first, listen to Ken Ofori-Atta.
Both the governor of the central bank and the minister for finance, myself, will now be on the board. We also have set up a desk, or setting up a desk at the Ministry of Finance that will really interact with the financing division of COCOBOD to make sure that the issues of fertilizer, cocoa roads, overheads, are all brought into an ambit of discipline. So those then begin to tell you how we are getting into the issue of expenditure and also on the revenue side.
You mentioned COCOBOD. What is the status of the restructuring, both the COCOBOD and the energy sector debts as well? And
that we are engaged on much more on a daily basis as to what's going on, and then to be able to ensure that issues of fertilizers and cocoa roads are rationalized. So that's important.
Well, we've been hearing from the Deputy Chief Executive of COCOBOD in charge of operations, Dr. Emmanuel Poku, who has mounted a strong defense of COCOBOD's record and this current management, disagreeing with any suggestion that they have not been financially disciplined in managing the affairs of COCOBOD. He says the Finance Ministry itself and the Bank of Ghana are already represented on the board of COCOBOD. And in fact, every decision they've taken that in the last few years, regardless of the outcome, has been one that has been approved by cabinet and the ministry. Listen.
I don't have much to say. The only thing I want to say is that if you look at the COCOBOD structure, the finance ministry or the minister's rep as a member of the board. So it's either the minister or his rep. So, except that the minister himself, because of his schedule, his busy schedule, he has one of his deputies always coming. And even that, sometimes because of the nature of the government business, they are not able to make it. The governor of Bank of Ghana is also a member of the board, and also most of especially the IMF issues and all that, it was difficult for them. And I don't think anybody begrudges them. We are working according to the requirements of the COCOBOD law. We work under a board chaired by somebody appointed by the government, and the Minister of Finance is a member of the board. We have the Minister of Agric also on the board, and in this case, is a deputy minister who represents the minister. So, I don't think COCOBOD has done anything wrong. COCOBOD, we cannot spend anything without the board's consent and then our supervising ministry's approval. So it beats my imagination to believe that somebody, raises an accusation that we have been reckless, we have been this. COCOBOD doesn't spend any money without the board's approval and the ministry's approval. So it just means that we are doing what the law requires us to do. We have appeared before Parliament a couple of times, and I don't think they have found anything against COCOBOD. We have auditors that audit our accounts, and they understand how COCO works. And with all the previous governments and all that, from the time I joined the ministry, this was in the PNDC time before we started the Fourth Republic. The boards have been there, chaired by an appointee of the president, and COCOBOD has operated according to the laws and the statutes that the COCOBOD law, permits us. So if somebody sits somewhere and says COCOBOD has been reckless, we cannot be reckless. We cannot operate or spend any or give approval for anything that government has not approved. So this is all I want to say here.
Yes,
so that people get to understand.
Just for clarity, I just want you to listen to the finance minister and the context in which he places their decision now to take a seat on your board. Listen.
Both the governor of the central bank and the minister for finance, myself, will now be on the board. We also have set up a desk, or setting up a desk at the Ministry of Finance that will really interact with the financing division of COCOBOD to make sure that the issues of fertilizer, cocoa roads, overheads, are all brought into an ambit of discipline.
There you have it, Mr. Poku. Discipline. Yes. That suggests that you've been in discipline, and that's why the finance minister himself, the BOG governor, are not only taking a seat, but they are also setting up a desk. He says discipline.
No, I don't think the minister imputes that we have been in discipline, because as I said, there's nothing COCOBOD or the board would do that doesn't have the approval of the government. And as I said, the minister or the ministry, that's the two ministries, finance and agri, they are all members of COCOBOD, and so their reps attend. But this time, the minister himself wants to attend, which is very, very good and welcoming. Exactly, so that everybody gets to know that we have not been doing anything outside of what the ministry or the government, has permitted us to do, or the law has permitted us to do. This is the situation. The point that the ministry would want to appoint a desk, it has been there, except that for some time it wasn't really working because in the past the minister himself doesn't come, and the desk officer attend the board meetings because they have the time to be there and then report to the minister. But now it is the deputy minister or the minister himself. And you know how government business works. It's busy. So they may not have the time to attend. That is different from the period where an officer or a desk officer comes and attends on behalf of the minister and then goes back to report to the minister. I don't know how it works right now, but I believe that the minister's presence will be very helpful so that we all get to know that, truly, COCOBOD was reckless, or COCO has been operating according to the law. I believe that the minister's presence is a very important step. And the governor is already a member of the board, so his ability to attend meetings will also add up. And then, at the end of the day, everybody will see that, after all, COCOBOD hasn't been reckless in anything.
Yeah, let me find out. I mean, how much debt are you currently saddled with?
Well, right now, I will not be able to tell you any information because I'm not the one in charge of finance, and I don't have any documents before me to speak to it.
Everything you've said tonight is in defense of what COCOBOD have done. You have not been reckless. You've done your work according to the books. The finance ministry have reps and they are there. But the evidence, the numbers say that COCOBOD is hugely in debt. COCOBOD is struggling. There's a concern about whether you can even raise the syndicated loan you require. The finance ministry is reacting to that by saying they want to sit on the bench. All that points to some definite mismanagement at your end.
Just as I said, there's no mismanagement anywhere.
Okay. And
COCOBOD cannot make any investment without the board's approval and without the ministry's approval.
Do you have any latest on the syndication loan and what will happen this year?
The syndication loan is going to be signed. You see, it will confound all the critics. We don't have to go public and say we are doing this tomorrow. We're going to sign. It will be signed.
Do you have a timeline for this?
I don't see
have a timeline
the problem here with the syndication.
Well, the Deputy Chief Executive also gave us a sense of what the new direction is going to be. COCOBOD has now been directed to pursue profits.
One major thing is that COCOBOD, by law, we are not supposed to make profits. We have been operating and meeting governments, what government wants us to do or finance. Now, I think that with this IMF requirement, the Minister of Finance has agreed with a plan that COCOBOD should be allowed to make profit. That is good because that's how every organization should operate.
Now you're going to be required to make profit.
Yeah.
What does that mean for the farmer, the cocoa farmer? What would that mean for them?
Well, whatever we make, we spend it on the farm. Okay? The point is that we do a lot of investments in helping the farmer to repair the problems or to correct the problems that they face. And these are the problems. Diseases, okay? And diseases is not just pests. Currently, we have been working to rehabilitate all the cocoa farms in Ghana. I tell you, it is a massive investment. People sit at the back, they don't know what is going on. And it is important that people, before you speak, you either come to COCOBOD or you read about to get to know what is really happening. Cocoa is a tree crop. If it stays for a period, and after that, it gets old. Okay, if it gets old, it can be affected by diseases or overage, and then you have to replant, or you have to, control the spread of the disease. So it's a lot of work and a lot of investment.
And as the Deputy Chief Executive of COCOBOD in charge of operations, Dr. Emmanuel Opoku, we are tonight hearing from the Concerned Cocoa Farmers Association. They are resisting the new directive to COCOBOD to pursue profits. Listen to President of the association, Nana Boateng Botsu.
Whether changing direction or not changing direction will not help. What we are calling is they have to give us the liberty for we to sell our cocoa directly to anybody at all that comes in, rather than government being a middle person to sell our cocoa for us. Because at the end of the day, we the cocoa farmers are not benefiting anything from the government. What's the kind of VA, the number of cars that they are riding, and go to the cocoa industry, the cocoa community, and then check if even you will see a single block of a building that our children are even enjoying. Nothing. Our kids are enjoying this school under trees. We don't even have a good school, not good health care. Nothing. Everything is in the city. So at the end of the day, we are just being slaves, working for people that we are not benefiting anything. So the better thing is they have to dissolve COCOBOD. Now we know that COCOBOD has collapsed. So they have to allow the farmers to sell our cocoa. That one will even be better off than making it profit or non-profit or whatever. At the end of the day, the institution has collapsed.
I want to bring in now Dr. Patrick Assumin. He is economist and lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, a deputy ranking member on Parliament Food and Agriculture Committee. Dr. Seydou Gisao also joins us. And Dr. Gisao, let me start with you because I heard from the Deputy Chief Executive of COCOBOD, and you've already criticized this move by the Finance Ministry, but the deputy says they've actually come before your committee a few times, and even there, you did not find anything that suggests that they have mismanaged their financials. Is that accurate?
It's not accurate, Evans. Thank you for the opportunity. You would agree that my initial conversation with you, in which I said the finance minister's move was hopeless, has been vindicated by the Deputy Chief Executive of COCOBOD. It's hopeless because that's already what the situation is. That's the scenario that is playing already. And so the finance minister is just putting words together and nothing new, nothing actionable new is coming into the equation. Now, the other new introduction really is that whether they have our checks on their books at committee level reveals that there have been improprieties. Yes, there have been. They have been. Some of them have been triangulated by the Auditor General, and we've questioned them. They've offered explanations. Some of them tenable, others not. These are public information. Committees' reports are taken on in the Chamber of Parliament, and these are things you can refer to as well. So it's not entirely accurate what Dr. Opoku is saying. Even one other dimension that should excite you is the directive that they should run as profit entities. Again, that is hopeless because even COCOBOD is a state-owned enterprise. It is not an NGO. It is being run as a profit-making entity.
But they haven't made profit in a long time. In fact, if you listen to him,
he's been...
Because
they have mismanaged.
No, because he says they've been spending a lot of resources and everything else they make, they spend on the farmers.
Evans, don't waste your breath, my brother. Since the setting up of COCOBOD in the 1970s, that is its remit. That they manage the cocoa sector, collect beans and the cocoa produce from farmers in country, check the world market, sell them with a profit motive, bring in more resources, pay the farmers, and use the rest of it to run government-supported programs.
Yeah, that's what they should do. That's what they should do. That's what is written on their books. That's the objective.
And that's what they should be doing.
But that's not what happens in reality. Not under the previous administration, not under this administration. This is a change in direction. You're saying that it's still hopeless?
No, Evans, please don't be misled. It is not a change in direction. This has always been the situation that you buy the cocoa beans, manage around your system and logistics, go to the world market, trade the cocoa beans, make profit. And then when you come, you can augment what goes to the farmer directly. So this year, they announced a producer price for cocoa farming. And they are taking for 51% or so. And then the 49% sits with government. Indeed, is the opposite. 51% sits with government and 49% is paid to the farmer. So government should make profit in order for what the farmer gains to go high, in order for what the government retains to embark on this program to also be high.
So why haven't they made profits? You've been looking into their books for a while on the committee. Why haven't they made the profits then?
They have not made the profit because of the salient management arrangements in place. The expenditure profile of COCOBOD outstrips the money they bring in. The kind of investment decisions they make are questionable. They are not bringing the returns that will continue to let it be liquid. And so year in, year out, they have run at a loss and not making any significant changes to their investment decisions. So that is why, even though in Dr. Opoku's rendition, he says that the board supervises and the ministry is represented. Come on, Evans, the board supervises management. Management has to take innovative decisions.
When they've come before you, in Parliament, and you've looked in their books and questioned them, you've talked about also making questionable expenditure. What have you found to be the specifics around that?
So at the moment, I don't have the full profile on with me now, and so it will not be fair to give them to make such allegations.
But you've already made the allegation that they made questionable expenditure.
I do know that one of them is the decisions to pay bonuses to management and chief executives. When in the last 6 years, the cocoa farmer himself has not been paid a single dime as bonus, but the management pays bonuses to themselves. Indeed, they pay bonuses to themselves and also pay to the board. So it's a bigger problem than we are talking about. And so there are many such expenditure lines that speak to the fact that they are not oriented to manage the sector in a way that will make it sustainable. Dr. Coco mentioned that they are doing a lot of investment and that you need to go to the countryside and see what they are doing. They are rehabilitating and bringing up moribund cocoa farms. Evans, I have my committee and myself have been to the field. Look, the situation there is pathetic, and I'm sure the cocoa farmer will confirm that. They have cut down in some places cocoa farms that are seen as moribund, and that they are coming to replace the cocoa farms and regenerate them. In the last 3 years, they have not been able to do that. The contract for whoever will come back and replant and regenerate this thing is such that he's not been paid. So once they've not been paid, they are not able to replant these cocoa farms. And so even the moribund project, replacement project, regeneration of farms project is something that is not stalled. Solar lights for watering cocoa farms, plantations in this climate change, and so no water and etc. etc. We have some pilots that have gone on. Since this government took over, the pilots are still there. No expansion.
Stay with me. That's the Dr. Seydou Giselle there. I still have with me Dr. Patrick Asuming. Doc, what do you make of this approach announced by the Finance Ministry? Will it make any difference? One, he himself, the Finance Minister, will be sitting on the board. He says the BOG governor will also be there. But as we've heard from the Deputy Chief Executive, they already have reps there. And every decision that has been taken, they've been taken with their blessing as well, he says, together with the cabinet also participating in that. With that background, do you see this making a difference?
Good evening and good evening to listeners. Thanks for having me. So, now, as the deputy has said, the finance minister has been always represented on the board, and the governor has also had a representative. So, I'm not sure that simply changing an approach where maybe the finance minister himself now attends the meeting really would make much of a difference. I don't think, when you look at the problems that has led to the debt that COCOBOD is facing, we need specific things to be addressed.
What are the
so
problems?
Unless the finance minister says that his and the governor's presence is what is going to solve those fundamental issues, I'm not clear that there's any clear change in focus.
And what are these fundamental issues?
Well, when you go to the IMF program that was released, which has been the source of all this discussion about what we need to change about the COCOBOD. So it lists specific things led to the accumulation of COCOBOD debt. So it talks about high cost of rolling out the outstanding cocoa bills, and then also the high purchase price that is paid to the cocoa producers, and then high operational costs, and then elevated crystal fiscal operations. So I think the operational costs which sit on the books of COCOBOD is a problem that has to be addressed. So in terms of the crystal fiscal operations, they do mention the provision of fertilizers and then the rural roads. For me, those are part of the strategic reasons why we expect COCOBOD to be engaging. So COCOBOD generates a surplus from the difference between the world price of cocoa and the producer price it pays out. We expect that part of that surplus should be invested in the production of cocoa. And then also, so they have identified provision of fertilizers and rural roads as part. But the fact remains that operational costs are just high, and that has to be addressed. Now, as for the issue about saying we are certainly going to turn COCOBOD into a profit-making entity, I'm not so sure that that's what we want to do.
Why?
Because, you see, it is set up to achieve specific strategic goals. I don't know why we say suddenly we should make profit. We want to generate a surplus. First, part of that surplus helps, because we do receive proceeds in dollars, it helps us to build some buffers. But also, we need to use that to help the long-term strategic operation of long-term production of cocoa. The problem is that the amount that the surplus that COCOBOD receives is enough. It's more than enough for them to do this. The main problem is operational costs that are too high. So that is what we have to focus on.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Patrick Asimin. He is the economist and lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Earlier, he had the deputy ranking member on Parliament's Food and Agri Committee, Dr. Seydou Gisal there. I want to hear from you. Just continue the conversation on many social media platforms on this subject also. Ghana Connect is coming up next, and we are connecting the victims in the flooding that we've seen in the Volta region and other areas to authority for a conversation on how to deal with this matter, but also bring relief to the areas affected and also plan ahead to averting a future disastrous situation as we've seen right now. And my colleague will join me with details of that pretty shortly here on Ghana Connect.